Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Hello, listener. Welcome back. This is Lara Jane, and I am here with a new friend, and her name is Jacqueline, and Jacqueline is a life coach. And I think her and I are up the same alley. We have a lot of things in common, so I know you're going to love her. Jacqueline, tell us a little bit about you and your business. And I know you have a podcast also that we're going to link that information in the show notes so that you have it. And Jacqueline, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi,
Or
Laura.
a lot.
So,
Got 30 minutes.
Or a lot. Be careful. I'm Italian. I'll talk and talk. So first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and just thankful to spend this time with you today. I am, like you said, I am a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. And I have a podcast called Life in the Driver's Seat. That's the name of my coaching program as well. And like we chatted about a little earlier, really my work is about empowering women to get into the driver's seat of their life. I feel like most, or a lot of women, most people are just kind of in the passenger seat of their life, and they're just kind of getting through life on autopilot, not really being intentional with their days. They're surviving life is what I call it. It's kind of like when you find yourself doing the same things every day and getting your to-do list done, and then you're just exhausted and you fall into bed just to get up and do it all over again. And before you know it, you're like, whoa, like, where did my day go? Where did my years go? So I really empower women to be intentional with the results they're creating and the life that they're creating.
How long have you been doing this?
Gosh, I got certified a couple years ago, and I was working for a company taking on their employees as customers and then as my clients. And then I've been doing it on my own for almost a year now, seeing people on my own.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you had a particular subject, and I'm telling you, there was two, and I thought I didn't really pick one of the two. Did you pick one?
Well, to get inspiration for the topic, I was going to send you, I just looked at what were the most popular podcasts of last year. And the two that came up were jealousy and comparison and how to not care what people think of you. So I'm game to talk about
the not care about what people think about you. Because, that bully voice in my head replays, especially like if I woke up late and I'm running and I didn't quite perfectly do my hair. I worry that I'm not coming across right. So teach me how to let go of that. Ooh.
Well, I think the problem with like caring so much what other people think, and then we'll get into tips on how to stop doing it. But it's like on my podcast, I had said something about like, we think so much more about what other people think about us. We spend more time caring about that than they actually spend thinking about us. It's like in our head, we're just spending all this time and like our emotions, right? We're wasting it on like what other people are thinking. And they're not even thinking that much about us because they're in their own world. And what that really costs people is it costs them their emotional well-being, right? Like you're feeling anxious and worried when you could be feeling at peace and enjoying your life and feeling creative. And it's also costing people, it costs you your life that you want to live, right? Because so many people are worried about what is so-and-so going to think if I do this, or I take this job, or I start this business, or I want to lose weight and they're not going to like me if I'm losing weight, and they're going to judge me if I stop drinking. And it's like, we live this fake life because we care so much what other people think. So it costs us like the life that we want to be living. And then you wanted to know just like tips, like right away tips on how to not care.
Yeah. How do you shut that puppy off?
All right, let's do it. Let's get into it. So the first thing I always tell my clients is like, it's impossible for me to get everyone to like me. Like that's actually impossible. So if you are trying to get people, like everyone to like you, and you're someone who's like, I really worry when people don't like me. I want everyone to like me. And you're going home thinking, did that person like me that met me? Like you're chasing something that's 100% impossible. And here's why. There are people who like completely different things. So I always laugh, like there's people who like kind people and there's people who like mean people. Like there's an audience for people who are mean and people like those people. I've met people who I think are totally rude and mean and people love hanging out with that person. Okay, so if I'm sitting here like, well, I better be kind so everyone likes me. It's like some people don't like kind people. It sounds crazy. Or you might be someone who really likes to work on your personal growth. Some people find that very annoying. There's an audience for everyone has a different taste. So if you're worried about making everyone like you, it's an impossible thing that you're chasing. So just show up as who you are, let the chips fall where they may, and let who likes you like you. You will find your audience. It's impossible. I love that quote. It's like, you could be the juiciest peach in the world and there's still going to be people who don't like peaches. It's like, I'm not for everyone and that's okay.
I think on top of that, if we are being fake, we don't even like ourselves. And if you cannot like yourself, how can you expect anybody else to like you? I've lived years with body image and, what do people think? What do people think? And being able to let that go and like myself has been more empowering for me than anything else. It's like, it doesn't matter what someone else thinks. Sure, I'm not perfect. I'm going to think it. I'm going to process it. But then I'm going to be able to let go and go, you know what? I am who I am. I am learning the lessons that I'm here to learn. And this is just part of it. And I have to just acknowledge that it's going to be okay. So I love that.
And I love what you just said about like when you're being fake, it's like you don't even like yourself. And that's what people need to understand is like if I'm being fake, even if people like me, they're not liking me. They're liking this fake version that I'm showing up as. So even if they do like me, I'm not going to believe that they really like me because I'm not really being me. It's like, it makes it impossible for me to like myself and for other people to like me when I'm not me.
Right. I don't even like me because I'm not me.
Yeah. So obviously I'm not going to believe if that person likes me, right? Because it's not really me and I can't show myself or I'm afraid you won't like me.
This is not an original thought. And I remember recently I read somewhere where someone said, don't ever quote anybody without being able to give the source. Well, I'm not giving the source because I don't know what it is. But recently, within the last 30 days, I read or heard something that said, if you're fitting in, you're not being you. If you belong, you are with the people you belong with. You don't have to change. You don't have to sand off those rough edges. You don't have to do all that stuff. You just belong. And all these years, we teach our children and our friends to fit in. Oh, just fit in. So you got to be quiet because the teacher wants you to be quiet. You got to do this because, and all of a sudden it's like, I just want to belong. I want to be with people I belong with, my tribe, my group, whatever you want to call it, because they accept me as I am. And they want me as I am. They don't want me to just fit in and play their little game. So I think that's a lot with your episode of, how do I not care what other people think? And it's put yourself around the right people, the people who love you for you.
And the thing about that is like, you only find those people if you're willing to come out and be yourself, right? Which most people aren't, right? That's why it's so hard for people. I have so many clients come to me and they don't have friends, like they don't consider, like they don't have any close friends, right? So many of my clients come to me with that. And I'm like, wow, that just fascinates me because I feel so lucky that I have like my core people, but so many people don't have that. It's because you have to step out and be yourself in order to find that group that is your people. Because if you're being fake, you can't find that. But it's interesting when you bring that up about, finding your tribe and things that it comes back to like why we actually do care what people think, because that's how that's why the human brain is wired, right? That's why it's so hard you can train yourself and train your brain and emotionally, you can train yourself to not care what people think, but you're not strange, or there's nothing wrong with you if you care deeply what people think. That is how our brain is wired. We're wired our brain is telling us to stay safe, stay alive. And we do that by staying part of a community. So we care very deeply, because our brain is telling us, hey, if you're not accepted and you're not in this community and you're not fitting in, you're going to be alone and you're going to die. Right. So it's very hardwired into us. That's why it's such a hard thing to get over. So when I look at people, I'm like, oh no, you're not strange, right? The people who don't care are the strange ones. Your brain's working just fine. It's how can we beat that? How can we beat that outdated brain, that outdated system to fit into today's world? Because we don't need to think like that now. We can evolve.
Yeah, it's so true. Like I'm sitting here processing, this is so cool. I love this.
Good.
And I'm just thinking about, we're not really pack animals, but we do need to be around people. We need to belong. We need to feel like we're not alone. Yeah, there's hermits out there and there's other situations. So I can't just do this global thing. Everybody is a pack animal. But for the most part, you find your role, you find your place, and you play it. And I think being in the wrong pack, if you're supposed to be the leader and you're a pack with somebody else that is the leader, then you're not being authentic to yourself. You got to go build your own tribe. You got to go build your own thing, because you can, and there is a place for who you are. And if it's the leader, great. If it's the follower, great. It doesn't matter. And that's where we come to, really holding space for the authenticness of each other and allowing each person to be totally genuine and not judge them. Sure, I'm not going to enjoy being around all the authentic people because they're going to rub me around. Because like you said, we all like different things. Somebody likes chocolate. Someone likes vanilla. There's 30,000 different flavors of ice cream because nobody likes all the same thing. And so we need to be unique, and we need to say, I'm the special sauce, and maybe only 5 people like this Rocky Road version of me, but that's who I am. Yeah. And so it's just where do we fit and how do we do that?
Yeah. You're so right. It's like being able to accept ourselves, right? There's so many different people, and not looking and thinking we should be this way or we should be like this person. I had a client yesterday, one of my clients who's coming to me, and in our session, she'd said something like, when I look back in my life, there's so many, I can think of specific times where I wish I had a voice and I had spoke up and, been more confrontational and said what I wanted to say. It's my truth. And I said to her, if you get someone like me, I'm a person, I'm Italian, I'm loud. I say things as soon as I think them, boom, boom. I never hold things in, like she was talking about. I said, but then you take someone say my husband, and he is someone who will very much hold his tongue and, not, speak up all the time. And I said to her, but that's who you are. And that's a beautiful thing. There's people who don't want to be around me, and there's people who love what I have to offer. Or there's people who love to be around someone like my client or like my husband, who is the more passive, quiet, holds their tongue kind of person. And I said to her, it's not about changing you. It's about you being happy with you. When you are holding your tongue, or when, it's not about wishing I was this confrontational person who they're looking at other people and thinking, I wish I was more like that person who can just say what they, and I said to her, it's more about, not as much about changing you into that type of person, but how can you be happy inside when you're not speaking out like that? And when you're not, if that's not who you are, then be happy inside with that. And that's where your peace comes from. It doesn't come with learning to be this more aggressive person. It's interesting. Everyone has their role. And like I said, certain people like to hang out with certain people and they complement certain people. So embrace who you are, embrace that personality. And if, like I said, heal inside and be happy with that person. As long as you're happy with that person, you don't need to be someone else. you're perfect with the people that you are with.
And before we started recording or before we kicked off this episode, you and I were talking. And one of the things that I said was, there doesn't need to be more than one me. And you kind of came back with this, you need to accept yourself. But in my head, I'm thinking, there's so many needed roles and responsibilities and passions and personalities out there that we really don't need any two people that are the same. Yeah. And there's enough uniqueness and ability to get along with who you are and embrace that. You are you, and there's not another one out there. And that's a good thing, because you get to be special and you get to be the person you are without, oh, well, that other me is doing this, I need to do that. No comparisons, you're you. And, so yes, we could use a lot of kind people. Yes, we could use but it's that special mix. One person's going to like mashed potatoes with sour cream. Another one's going to like it with butter. Another, you know what? You are the perfect recipe for the people in your life. And they're going to love you and they're going to accept you. And if it's mashed potatoes, savor the goodness out of you.
Amen. I love that. So another thing I like when we talk about like not caring what people think is, I remember hearing this concept and I really had to like sit with it. And now it's been years that I've like sat with this. But I think I learned it when I was like in Brooke Castillo's scholars program. But she talked about like when people don't like you, like it's not about you, right? It's about them. Mm-hmm. But then on the flip side of that, the same is true when people like you, right? If people like you, that's about them. Like, so I had a client and her, she had a really bad marriage and her husband had cheated on her and like left her. And so she came to me feeling very like there was something wrong with her, right? And what I tried to like work with her on, and we're still working together. We've been working together for about 8 months now, but I was trying to explain this concept, like how he loved you had nothing to do with you, right? It wasn't how you were that made him do that. It's when people love you, they're loving you with their capacity. Like some people have a capacity to love deeply. It doesn't matter who's on the other end in their relationship. Like they, as a person, just know how to love. There's other people who don't know how to love. It doesn't matter. You could be the best mate, the best wife, the best husband, whatever. If the person on the other end doesn't know how to love, you can do whatever you want. They can't love you properly because it's not in them, right? So they'll go on to the next relationship and they'll do the same thing. So that concept, if you really like, it takes so much of the anxiety off of people, liking you or not liking you. Like some people are like, oh my gosh, that person didn't like me. And I just think, well, that's because of them. Like that's their beliefs, that's their past experiences, that's their insecurities that are underlying, that's the lens through which they see life. It has nothing to do with me. And another great way to think of it, and I remember hearing this too, is it's like, if it was you, if you were the thing that people don't like you're the common denominator, right? But there's people who love you and there's people who don't love you. If it was about you, everyone would feel the same way. They would all be like, well, I love Laura. I love Jacqueline, right? Or I really don't like Laura and I really don't like Jacqueline. But everyone has a different view. And why is that? Because it's them. It's the other person. It's not Laura and it's not Jacqueline. It's the other person. It's all about them and what they choose, their emotions that they choose. They either choose to like you or they choose to not like you. Doesn't matter who you are. You're the common denominator, but there's so many different people thinking different things about you. So it's not about you.
Right. It's kind of like what you trigger in me. I see you and I go, ooh, that triggers a negative. It's not you. It's something in my past, or, oh, I feel warm and fuzzy around you because you trigger something that reminds me of warm and fuzzy. It's those things we hold on to of our past that shape us and guide us and direct us. And so absolutely, it is, I have this, I don't like to say I don't like people or I don't, but there's a certain behavior in people that trigger me really bad. And it's a really odd one. It's the fake smiling and the fake, oh, so nice to see you. And you're like, oh my God, can they just be real? And my husband says, well, maybe they are being real. And I go, they may be, but it triggers fake to me. And that's where it's just me that triggers. It has nothing to do with, I know nothing more about that person than that one trigger. And I'm judging them on it.
And I love what you're bringing up right now, how you used that it's triggering, because I had written down 2 quotes on that. And one of them was from Byron Katie. And it said, the world is a projection of our thoughts, the thoughts that we believe. And then the other one, when you said I'm not citing who it's from because I don't have it written down, but it said, unless you learn to face your own shadows, you will see them in others, because the world outside of you is only a reflection of the world inside of you. Right. So like whatever we're being triggered by, like whatever is going on in here, that's what we're seeing. That's just a projection of what's out here. So it's like you seeing that person. It's like, doesn't have anything to do with them. They might just be the happiest person in the world, right? And smiling, and that might be really them. But it's what's going on in you, right? That's projecting out, and that's your reality. It's so
what fake person way back when did me wrong? I don't know.
We need to,
but it triggers.
Who is she? No.
I also don't think that's important either.
I've got connections. No.
It's understanding the reason. You don't have to know, the actual event or anything. But once you realize what it is, it's easier to turn off that light switch and disconnect it. So it quits going on. You go, that's them. That's not the old, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you brought up. Yeah. Another thing I kind of wrote down 4 tips, but another thing I like to think of is like that people live in their own world. So I really love this. It's kind of a trippy concept, but like really cool to think about. But it's like, you live in your world, right? We're living on the same world and the same planet, but like I'm in my head living my own perception of life, and you're in your head living your own perception of life. And it's like those people that we think are thinking so much about us. It's like they're living in their own world. Like it's their world. But because we're in our head, we're thinking about ourselves so much. We think people must be thinking about us a lot because that's all we're doing.
So, right. I'm kind of glad they don't, but
yeah, it's like they're thinking about themselves and their world and their bills and their relationship and what other people are thinking of them. It's like they're thinking about themselves and we're thinking about ourselves, thinking that it's like, no, everyone is just in their own head, in their own world, living their own life. And yet we think they're so tied up with us. It's like we're so self-absorbed that we think people must be thinking about us and judging us. It's like, no, people are thinking about themselves. You're thinking about yourself.
People do judge. I judge. That's the way it is, but it's not really you that I'm judging. I'm judging my experience of you. And you have, maybe you're 20 years old, maybe you're 30 years old, whatever age, you have that many years of you that you know. I know 10 seconds or 30 minutes or 1 hour of you. And I can go, oh, she's not very nice. Well, you know what? Oh, it's like the guy that busted the glass in my driveway. I was not nice. It's what piece or what portion of that 30 something years of someone's life am I seeing? And it's just a fragment, and I'm making a judgment on them. Like the person living under the viaduct in a tent. That's all I see. I don't know any more of them. Mm-hmm. Am I judging it? I'm so, I don't know, Esther Hicks or Abraham or whoever they are at that time.
Yeah.
Always has that, until you don't know anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're just like, and until you love yourself, you can't love anybody else. And I always thought that's so stupid. That's not true. I love so many people. But what I didn't realize at the time is I had a 1 cup ability to love, where now I have a 5-gallon or a 30-gallon ability to love. The more I love myself, the more love I have to give. And so I just really like, I love to listen to books and podcasts and stuff and just get pieces of information, and like, it's like, whoa, I've been thinking that in my head forever. And now there's words for it.
I totally get that. Yeah.
It's like, I love words. I didn't know how to explain it before. Now I do.
Yeah. Someone put it to words for me. I love listening to it too. And then speaking of like loving people, right? And like having people love you, I think that kind of leads into the 4th tip that I had and I wrote down, but it's like,
it's magic.
Yes. I feel like this is probably the biggest thing in my life that keeps me, because I genuinely, I'm kind of an introvert though. I'm an introverted person. So I just genuinely, I help my clients, but I always say like, I kind of came by it more naturally. Like I genuinely just don't care. I don't care what people think because I'm not thinking about other people because I'm more introverted. But I will say the thing that I think I rely on heavily and that helps me not care what people think is that I have my core people. Like I don't have many because I'm more introverted, and I think of it like I have so much energy to give out that I really want to pour it into a few people instead of spreading myself thin. And I want to give it to my clients. And so, but the few people that I have, I always tell my clients, like, choose 5, and one of them can be your spouse, but choose 5 people, right? You need 4 friends. It doesn't have to be this, like, I need so many friends. It doesn't have to be that. I feel like that's where people spread themselves thin and they start looking and thinking, well, I don't have many friends. And it makes them think about things about themselves. But you don't need many. But when you weed through them and find even 3, just a few people, even if you have 1, you're blessed. And have someone like these people who just know you. They know you and they don't judge you. Like they love you for who you are. You can say anything to them. I feel like when you have those few people in your life, that I always say, like, that gives me wings to fly. Like, I don't care what anyone else thinks of me because I'm like, I have these people, like I have my people. So I don't need anymore. I don't care what any of you think. And I think that really can give you just a whole new lease on life is instead of caring what everyone thinks, you're like, well, I have this core people. I don't care what anyone else thinks. So if you do feel like, you're always worrying what people think and things like that, like find your core people and just say, all I need is them. Like, that's what I need. And God, right? If I've got God and I've got my people, I don't care what think whatever you want about me. I don't care.
Yeah. And I know not everybody's relationship is like this, but I have my best friend that I live with, and I am so thankful for the ability to be me, to blow up, be bitch, be crazy, be whatever, and still be loved 5 minutes later. And just someone called me codependent. And I kind of thought about that because it sounds negative, right? And it's like, you're right. I do need him. I mean, I do like having someone in my life who I can be me with and still know I'm loved, genuinely cared about. And I would rather be codependent than lonely. I just like, okay, you can call me that if you want.
I love that though, like how you're speaking of, and I think a lot of people who aren't they don't have that. Like they don't have that kind of spouse and a relationship. And so they don't understand that. And there's probably a little bit of jealousy in speaking that way. But there's nothing wrong with being like, I truly love this person. I appreciate all of these things about them. I appreciate that they let me be me and they whatever. but calling someone codependency means you're neglecting your own needs. And I don't find that. I'm not seeing that. I mean, codependency means I'm gonna push all my needs to the side just to help this person. That's a completely different thing than saying, wow, I appreciate and cherish this relationship. This is so special to me. I would never want to be without it. That's a totally different thing. It's a beautiful
and
thing.
one day, one of us are going to be without it unless we die on the same day. So,
Fingers crossed.
No.
We're going
I just remember when we got married, we were both like, I don't need you. I can do life on my own. I do not need anybody. Stubborn little people that we are. Mm-hmm. But it works. And I know it doesn't have to be a spouse. It can be a best friend. It can be your own internal best friend that supports you and loves you. And you don't have to have external. It does not have to be there. It's just nice. It's the icing on the cake. The cake is beautiful and lovely and yummy without it. But with it, it's so much better.
Oh, agree. And it's like, and like God too. It's like, if you got, like, I've got God, that's not for everyone, but it's like that right there gives you so much. It's like, I'm fully accepted and fully loved. Why do I care? Right. So there's that. And then you said, like, being your own, like, right, treating yourself good, being your own. It's like, I always say, like, I'm my own best friend, and not in an arrogant way, but I like myself. I like to go places by myself. I love to be alone. I love to spend time with myself. I understand me. I accept me. I love me. And when you have that, that's a whole new ballgame. When you're always with your best friend, that's like a whole new life. And it's a beautiful thing that I wish everyone would experience, right?
When I started this podcast, I wanted to call it Becoming Your Own Best Friend, because I really think how important that is. And a lot of people are like, if you don't show them the pain, they don't take the aspirin. And so I had to change it to silencing your inner bully, because here's the pain. Here's that thing that we want to get rid of. You don't know how beautiful it is to be your own best friend. And one of the questions that I don't think it's on my new intake form, but I used to say that I might ask you is who your best friend is. And because nobody yet has answered me. But at the same time, it also shows you what it is about that person that you admire. And those things are things that are in you. We see the beauty in people that is in us. And I just like, yes. So to you, a best friend is these things. And that's what you are.
Same thing if we like pick on people, right? And we judge them or we hate them, right? It's like we're seeing the parts of us. We're seeing ourselves in them, right? That's for another way. It's not about them, right? If we love them, we love the things about us that we love. It's the parts of us we love. And if we don't like someone, it's usually the parts of ourselves that we don't love.
Oh, absolutely. And we just talked about that too. It's like, what triggers me? What is it in me that I don't like that you're bringing out? Yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Man, I have a new best friend, Jacqueline. You are amazing.
Yeah. You want to be one of my 5?
Yes. Can I be number 4.5?
I had a great time. And just FYI, I love the name, the Silence Your Inner Bully. When you said that, I agree. It is powerful. You are so right about that. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing and helping people in that way. It's so good.
Well, and I love what you're doing, putting women in the driver's seat. We forget that we have control of our lives. And that is so important to pick your destination and take yourself there. You don't need a co-pilot. You don't need a backseat driver. You don't need anything else other than your desires. And what you need in life is to go after those desires. 100%. And so I love what you're doing also. So it's now, what did they call it? It's like a bromance when it's guys.
Well, what are we, like gal pals? Like, what is it?
Gal pals?
Gal pals? You got it.
All right, new gal pal.
Yes, but I had so much fun. And thank you again.
Yes, we are at the end. So let's go ahead and thank you for being here with me. Listener, I know this has just been a beautiful episode. I've totally enjoyed it. So stay tuned for the next episode. And just a reminder of the legal part. I am not, and neither is Jacqueline, a mental or health care professional. We are here for just sharing what we've learned and how we cope in life. So you can see the full disclosure in the show notes. Thanks.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss a next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.